Hello everyone and welcome to my channel YNR Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Noah stood frozen at the threshold of his parents' dimly lit living room, the soft hum of the refrigerator the only sound until a tiny stifled cry sliced through the silence, a sound so unmistakably fragile it sent a chill crawling up his spine. It was the kind of cry a terrified child makes when tears are dried, hope is fading, and fear tightens around the throat like a fist. He followed the sound, pulse pounding, palms slick, every instinct on high alert, until he reached the old storage door Sharon always kept locked. Tonight it was slightly ajar. The air smelled of dust, lavender fabric softener, and something else, something like panic. Noah pushed the door slowly, barely breathing, and the hinges protested with an accusing creak. In the corner, cocooned under a worn quilt, sat a small girl with wide, terrified eyes, Sienna. Her wrists weren't bound, but the fear glued her to the mattress, her tiny shoulders quivering. Noah stumbled back, adrenaline spiking through him, betrayal igniting in his chest like gasoline meeting flame. The impossible was suddenly horrifyingly real. What is she doing here? Noah whispered, voice frayed, breath unsteady, unable to grasp how his parents could be part of something so monstrous. His mind fractured into questions and disbelief. His mother, gentle, nurturing Sharon, who dedicated her life to protecting children. She couldn't possibly harm one. And Nick, who prided himself on integrity, justice, and family. He wouldn't steal someone else's child. Yet the evidence was breathing, trembling right before him. Noah felt his chest tighten, thoughts spiraling as every childhood memory of trust twisted into a knife. When Nick and Sharon finally returned home, their laughter died the instant they saw the raw fury twisting Noah's face. Nick's brow furrowed. Sharon's lips parted in panic. "What's wrong?" Sharon asked, voice trembling at the edges. Noah couldn't hold back. His voice exploded, echoing through the room with the force of betrayal itself. "You kidnapped her," he shouted, pointing toward the basement. "Sienna is here. In this house. What have you done?" The accusation hung heavy, rattling the air like thunder before a tornado tears through. Nick stepped forward, hands raised, desperate to calm his son, but Noah jerked away, pacing like a caged animal. Sharon's eyes filled with tears, guilt flickering before panic overtook them. The echo of Noah's accusation seemed to crack the illusion of safety that the Newman home always represented. Noah's world tilted, memories flashing, birthday candles, Christmas mornings, bedtime stories. Every moment rooted in trust, now tainted by suspicion. He demanded answers, voice hoarse, torn between rage and desperation for this nightmare to somehow make sense. Nick tried to speak carefully, cautiously, like one wrong syllable might shatter the fragile connection still tethering them. "Noah, listen to us," Nick pleaded, but Noah heard only manipulation, rehearsed justification, the calm tone of someone trying to rationalize a crime. Sharon reached out as though to soothe him the way she had when he scraped his knee years ago. But Noah recoiled, flinching as though her touch burned. The emotional distance between mother and son widened into a chasm. Noah couldn't comprehend how the two people who raised him to value truth, compassion, and responsibility could cross such a moral boundary. "She was taken," Noah said, voice breaking. "People are searching for her. Her family thinks she's missing," terrified, frantic. "Do you realize what you've done?" His words tumbled out, jagged and breathless. Sharon's tears streamed silently, and she clasped trembling hands together, as though praying for forgiveness from someone who might never grant it. Nick stood rigid, jaw clenched, eyes dark with the storm of conflict. "We didn't kidnap her," Nick insisted. But Noah only heard denial, excuses wrapping around a horrific truth. "We were protecting her," Sharon whispered, voice cracking, almost pleading. "She was in danger." The justification smashed into Noah like a tidal wave of absurdity. Protecting her? From whom? Why keep her hidden? Why not involve authorities? Questions detonated in Noah's brain like fireworks spiraling out of control. His heart fractured under the weight of betrayal, spiraling into disbelief that bordered on hysteria. He pictured newspaper headlines, Amber Alerts, frantic parents begging for their daughter's safe return. And here she was, frightened and hidden beneath his family's roof. Noah's voice shrank to a whisper thick with devastation. "You crossed the line," he murmured, choking back tears. "You crossed every line." Sienna whimpered softly from behind him, and Noah's instincts screamed to protect her, to get her out before the walls collapsed around them. The moral center that grounded him all his life trembled violently, uprooted by the revelation that his parents, the core of his identity, were capable of secrecy and deception of monstrous proportions. He felt himself slipping into emotional free fall. His breath hitched as he confronted them, voice trembling with the fissures of a son realizing he may never see his parents the same way again. "How could you do this?" Noah demanded. Nick stepped closer, desperation etched in every line of his face. "We couldn't risk losing her to him," Nick said, cryptic, haunted by unspoken history. "You don't know what he's capable of." Sharon nodded, fierce in conviction now instead of guilt. "We had no choice." Noah snapped back, voice sharp with disbelief. "There's always a choice. You stole a child. You lied. And you made me part of it just by being here." Silence followed, oppressive and suffocating. The sound of Noah's ragged breathing filled the room. Something in him shattered irreparably. Trust dissolved, replaced by fear and repulsion. He imagined the consequences. Police sirens, headlines, handcuffs, courtrooms, and humiliation that would ripple through the Newman name. Noah's hands shook, torn between turning them in and protecting them out of blood loyalty. Sienna's frightened eyes begged for safety. Noah realized that no matter what truth Nick and Sharon believed justified this, whatever unseen danger they claimed, they had broken the law. Noah felt himself drowning, pulled between moral obligation and filial devotion. He wondered if protecting a child justified destroying a family, wondered if he could ever forgive them, wondered if the Newman legacy of secrets and scandal had finally poisoned him too. His voice broke under the strain. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again," Noah whispered, each word merciless as a blade. Sharon collapsed into silent sobs, and Nick stared helplessly, wearing guilt like armor. And Noah, trembling, heartsick, found himself standing at a crossroads where every path led to ruin. The discovery of Sienna didn't just expose a crime. It cracked open a buried truth of the Newman family. Love could twist into obsession, protection could morph into possession, and even the purest intentions could pave the road to unthinkable betrayal. Noah sensed this moment would mark the beginning of a devastating storm, one that could rip apart everything he once believed unshakable. And no matter what explanations came next, something fundamental had changed forever, a fracture that could never fully heal. Noah backed away until his shoulders hit the wall, breath coming in sharp bursts as though the room had shrunk around him, pressing in with suffocating tension, and the weight of the moment threatened to crush what little remained of his certainty about right and wrong. He stared at his parents and realized they were strangers standing in familiar clothing, masks cracking under the light of truth. Sharon reached toward him again, whispering his name, but the sound of her voice, usually soothing like a lullaby, now raked across Noah's nerves like sandpaper. He muttered, "I need air," and rushed toward the front door before either parent could block him. Nick moved instinctively as though to stop him, but Sharon placed a trembling hand on Nick's arm, shaking her head. "Let him go," she whispered, voice laden with despair. Outside, Noah sucked in the cold night air, trying to steady himself, but the memory of Sienna's frightened eyes clung to him, refusing to loosen their grip. He thought of calling the police, the rational decision, the lawful choice, but as he imagined dialing, his fingers trembled violently. Turning against his parents meant unraveling his own identity, exposing secrets that could destroy them all. He was drowning in conflict, torn between instinct and legacy. Back inside, Nick and Sharon stood frozen, exchanging horrified glances. Nick's voice quivered with fear. "If he calls the cops," Sharon cut him off, panic rising. "He wouldn't. Not Noah. Not our son." But her voice lacked conviction, as though she sensed the delicate thread of faith holding them together might already be snapping. Minutes crawled by before Noah returned, pacing like a man preparing for a war he never wanted to fight. His voice was low, dangerous, and cracking under pressure. "I need the truth. All of it. No more vague 'we were protecting her.' No more secrets. Why is she here?" Nick exhaled slowly, shoulders slumping under the immense weight of confession. "Her father, he threatened her. We found out through someone we trust. We called authorities, CPS, but nothing happened. No action. No protection. Her mother begged Sharon for help, begged us to keep her safe until she could escape." Sharon nodded, eyes burning with conviction now. We didn't steal her, Noah. Her mother brought her here. But if he finds out... Sharon's voice trailed off, knuckles whitening as she clutched her own arms. Noah staggered under the revelation, logic warring with emotion. If this was true, it blurred the line between kidnapping and sanctuary. Yet in the eyes of the law, hiding Sienna was still criminal. Noah's mind raced. Was this noble or reckless? Protective or possessive? His parents might believe they were heroes, but intentions didn't erase consequences, and Noah feared the tidal wave that would crash over them if the truth surfaced. Why didn't you tell me? Noah demanded, voice wavering between fury and heartbreak. Why hide this from your own son? Sharon's lips trembled. Because we knew you'd react like this, she whispered. We didn't want to put you in this position. Noah laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. Too late. Silence suffocated them again. Then a small voice echoed from the hallway, Sienna, clutching the quilt around her tiny shoulders. I'm sorry, she whispered, tears streaking her cheeks, as though she believed she was the cause of the storm tearing this family apart. Noah's heart fractured anew. He knelt, voice softening. You did nothing wrong. None of this is your fault. He offered his hand, and Sienna hesitated before inching closer, trusting him in a way that pierced Noah with guilt. He looked toward his parents, seeing their hope flicker. Perhaps this would bring him back to their side. But it only deepened his dread. The more attached he became, the more complicated escape became for all of them. Nick's phone suddenly buzzed on the counter, its vibration slicing through the tension. He checked the screen, face paling instantly. It's her father, Nick murmured, voice laced with terror. He's been calling all day. Sharon covered her mouth as panic shuddered through her. Noah's pulse pounded. Whether their story was true or not, Sienna's father was searching, and questions were spreading like wildfire. If the wrong person found out, every secret would implode. The walls felt as though they were closing in. Brick ceiling shut around them, trapping them in a moral labyrinth with no exits. Noah realized that by discovering Sienna, he had crossed an invisible boundary. The storm had been brewing for days, maybe weeks, and now lightning struck, electrifying the house with fear and consequence. Noah whispered, trembling, "This is going to destroy us." Sharon stepped forward, holding Noah's gaze. "Or it will save her," she said quietly. Nick nodded grimly. "We'll face whatever comes." But Noah heard resignation in their voices, not certainty. He wondered whether justice could ever be clean, whether doing the right thing always came at a cost too devastating to bear. Sienna clung to Noah's arm now, seeking safety, and Noah felt a fierce protective instinct surge through him, one he wasn't sure he had the strength to follow through. He closed his eyes, imagining headlines, police lights, interrogations, and betrayal etched permanently into family history. In that moment, Noah understood. Every decision from here on would rewrite their lives forever. And he didn't know if choosing silence or truth would save them, or destroy them all. Noah's breath caught as the implications of Nick's words crashed against him. The man on the phone, Sienna's father, wasn't just calling to check in. He was hunting, closing in, sensing the truth like a predator sniffing blood. The phone buzzed again, vibrating across the countertop, its shrill hum slicing into Noah's conscience. Nick finally silenced the call, face pale, knuckles white against the screen. Sharon wrapped her arms around herself like she was holding broken pieces in place. Sienna whimpered, clutching Noah's shirt, the trembling fear of a child who had learned too young how fragile safety could be. Noah stared at her, realizing innocence always paid the highest price for adult sins. Guilt swelled, heavy as lead in his stomach. He looked up, voice raw. "We need to do something now, because hiding her ends tonight, one way or another." His parents exchanged anxious, pleading looks, but Noah shook his head sharply. "No more secrets. No more lies. If he comes here, if the police come and they find her, we go down for kidnapping. Felony kidnapping." The words tasted bitter, but reality refused to sugarcoat itself. A slamming car door echoed faintly outside, the unmistakable metallic thud of someone unfamiliar stepping onto their driveway. Every head snapped toward the window. Sharon gasped, fingers flying to her lips. Nick lunged toward the blinds and peeked through a sliver. His face drained of color. Noah's pulse hammered in his ears. "Who is it?" he demanded. Nick swallowed hard. "It's him." Time fractured into shards. Noah grabbed Sienna, pulling her gently but urgently behind him, muscles coiled with instinctive protectiveness. Sharon shook her head violently, panic clawing its way up her throat. Nick stood frozen at the blinds, shoulders squared but trembling. Footsteps crunched across gravel, slow and deliberate, like a hunter savoring the chase. Noah's mind raced in turbulent spirals. Call the police? Hide Sienna? Confront him? Every choice led to devastation. The bruising weight of responsibility pinned him in place. Sharon whispered, frantic, "We can't let him in." But a heavy fist pounded on the front door before she finished the sentence, each knock thunderous, rattling the walls. "I know you're in there," a voice growled, thick with rage. Noah flinched. He recognized that voice, not personally but from the recording circulating online during the custody battle, from the chilling voicemail leaks the press replayed, from the threats that systems ignored. Suddenly Noah understood why his parents acted, why desperation drove them to extremes. But knowing didn't absolve them. And it didn't erase the consequences now clawing at their front door. The pounding intensified. "Open this door." Sharon shook her head, terrified. Nick tightened his jaw, protecting his family, ready to sacrifice everything. Noah's heart hammered violently as Sienna's tiny hand squeezed his. He could feel her trembling like a leaf in a storm. Another slam rattled the hinges. It felt like the world was collapsing inward. Noah stepped forward, voice low, determined. "If we open that door, we lose her. If we don't, we lose ourselves." The moral paradox tore him apart. Sienna whimpered again. Sharon sobbed silently. Nick muttered, "We'll handle it. Together." The pounding abruptly stopped. Silence pulled thickly, suffocating. Nick pressed his ear to the door cautiously. No sound. Then footsteps retreating. Gravel shifting. A car door slamming. An engine roaring to life. Tires screeching. Silence again. The danger had passed, if only temporarily. But the tension didn't loosen. Noah's adrenaline didn't fade. Instead, something in him clicked into clarity. He turned to his parents, voice hollow but resolute. "We can't live like fugitives. We can't hide forever. You wanted to protect her, and maybe you were right to step in. But if we keep hiding, if we keep lying, we become the thing we fear." Tears welled in Sharon's eyes. Nick exhaled shakily. Noah continued, words spilling from a place of tortured conviction. "I'll help you. But only if we do this legally. We come clean. We file for emergency custody. We go to court. We tell the truth. And if we're still punished for doing what we believed was right, then we face that together." A suffocating stillness enveloped the room. Noah had drawn a line, one that would shape their future. Sharon went to Sienna, brushing hair from her damp cheeks, whispering soothing words. Nick nodded slowly, eyes heavy with painful acceptance. "You're right," he whispered. "We can't run from this." Noah released a breath he hadn't known he'd been holding. For the first time since discovering Sienna, he felt something shift. A fragile thread of hope weaving itself into the fractures. Nick reached for his phone and dialed, hands trembling. Sharon held Sienna protectively, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. Noah stood beside them, bracing himself. When the line connected, Nick spoke, voice steady despite everything. "This is Nicholas Newman. We need to report a situation regarding a missing child." The confession ignited consequences instantly. There was no turning back. But as the family stood united behind their decision, ready to weather the storm of legal battles, media frenzy, and painful reckoning, Noah realized that doing the right thing wasn't always clean or comfortable. Sometimes it meant sacrificing safety for integrity. Sometimes it meant destroying the illusion of perfection to rebuild truth. And sometimes, as in this moment, it meant choosing to walk into the fire together, hoping they might emerge on the other side still a family, bruised but unbroken, and praying that saving one child wouldn't cost them everything.